All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to another edition of BMX Coach Live. I'm your host, three-time Olympic coach, Greg Romero. And man, I got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the UCI BMX Worlds in Scotland. Let's go. Want to get off to a fast start here. I recorded some videos of the race, and I wanted to start off respectively. We're going to talk about the Worlds. We're going to talk about the juniors, under 23, elite, both female and male. And then I want to talk about Team USA a little bit, and then we'll get into the Q&A, if you will. Again, welcome back to the show. I wanted to get on at 5 o'clock, but man, I dealt with about 45 minutes worth of audio issues. So let's get into the show here. So here we got some semis. We got Corley, Ava Corley, having a really good day all day, didn't drop a lap. Won her semi. We have this girl here, Veronica, who was in fourth here, went from fourth all the way to second, and showed a really good qualifying time. Now, this is the part that I'm really confused on. I don't know if Ava had first lane choice or second lane choice, but maybe I'm going to presuppose she had first lane choice, but she decided to go with lane 2 in the main, and I thought that was kind of weird. And we're going to see that here in a second. Cool. James Cordova says, I have some questions. Days Rock says, let's go. So here we have the start list. We have, again, Ava Corley, lane 2, looking really strong, looking like the future, really. Everyone's really feeling her. She's showing out really well. And then we have Veronica here from Latvia, Team Strombergs. All serious, all business here. And we're going to go through these laps, and hopefully I can shed you guys some light and give you guys some insight here. So it's going to be watch the gate and off to the races. Here we go. Veronica gets a snap, and Ava just gets snapped. She gets snapped, and she's in the back, and she's already fishtailing down the last straight. Luckily, a couple girls get caught up, and Veronica's off to the races, and she's gone. And looks like Ava is in 5th. Okay. And I remember watching this. I'm like, okay, well, she's in 5th. And this sounds kind of funny, but when it comes to this style of racing, she only has to get by 2 people. I'm thinking when I'm watching this, she only has to get by 2 people to get on the podium. And these girls, rather, in 3rd and 4th are battling right here. They make a pass, kind of slow up traffic. And Ava, she capitalizes on that with an excellent, very much an excellent last straight finish, and way to get on the podium, Ava. And Veronica looking really strong with that gate in that first straight. Again, I'm wondering why Ava chose lane 2. If she would have got lane 1 and she came out even late, I think she would have been in a better position going into the first turn, and for sure be at the front of the race, because that is where the race is at. It's at the front, right? We always talk about that. If you guys got questions, start firing them off now so we could work this really seamlessly. As you know me, I'm all about dinner. All right, let's get into the junior men. All right, so we have Thomas Maturano, who actually races here in the U.S., and then he had no problems qualifying. And then here's his teammate here, who rode really strong. You know, the Argentinians are known to be South Americans really known to be really strong pack riders. So he makes his qualifying bid. Here, Cedric Cady looked really strong all day down that first straight, but this semi was really tough for him. It was a lot of stop and go. He cases here, and, you know, he's in 4th. And, you know, he's trying to fight, going inside high, battling with this guy for 3rd. He's in 3rd, but then he comes out of the turn with no speed, and there's like 3 guys on his ass. And then, you know, you could tell he's starting to run out of gas a little bit. And man, this poor fella had a rough go in this semi, you know, jumping that awkwardly, and had to go to a photo finish. Nordman from Netherlands, man, he looked really strong. I liked him. Let's look at the start list here. So we got Maturano, Nordman, lanes 1 and 2, and I really thought those 2 guys were going to be the show. With Cedric out of the picture, again, Cedric looked really strong and as a threat down that first straight, but didn't make the main. So hopefully Cedric, you know, he takes this fuel, and he takes this as fuel going into the next year with the Worlds being on Rock Hill. All right, so we have Maturano, Nordman, And then, of course, we have Federico Capello from Argentina, too. So we have two Argentinians. And then everyone else well represented, right? All over Europe, Swiss, Italian, French, Latvia, Netherlands. And then we have three South Americans in here with two Argentinians and a Colombian. So let's check them out. Again, I just cut straight to the chase. Nordman and age 18, okay? Again, this is going to be 16, 17, 18-year-olds. That's junior. And then you have Maturano, who is 16. And he's a junior Pan Am champion. So that's quite impressive. All right, let's take a look and see what's going on. You guys got questions? Start firing them off right away. We're going to talk about the Worlds. We're going to talk about nuances, some things that we can learn, right? That we can learn from this international stage of racing and take it back to our local track. Watch the gate. Maturano gets out, and he just gets over right away in the wheelhouse of Nordman. Nordman, you know, he just got caught up, man. Like his elbow got caught up, and it's game over from there. Luckily, Maturano survived this this contact right here, and he's got about a half a bike length lead, as you can see. Maturano having no problems controlling the race and, you know, just getting straight to business and riding really, really consistent. I don't think he dropped a lap all weekend, looking really excellent, looking really strong. Someone slid out. I think that was a Latvian kid in second, just slid out by himself, and that sucks. That opens up the door for Maturano's teammate from Argentina, who came on strong and did some pack riding, and these guys made no mistakes, man. These guys are well trained. The thing with South Americans, one of the things I wanted to note is that, man, listen, these kids, they got a lot of heart. And so if there's anything we could take from South Americans, listen, they come with it. They bring the heart. They bring the soul. And, you know, they're tapping into not only their physical, emotional, and mental capabilities of whatever that may be, right? South American is sometimes not necessarily a first world country. I'm half Filipino, so I come from a third world country, and we come off very grateful. If you ever go to the Philippines, you know, it's a third world country, and everyone is super grateful for what they have. And I'm going to say that these guys are in the same boat. They're very grateful, and so you're going to notice that they're going to tap into their spirituality and give, you know, give praise to the Almighty, if you will. But what I'm saying is that they bring the heart, they bring the humility, they bring the soul, they bring the spirit to the racing. And that's why these guys are always really tough when it comes to international racing. Something to be said here. All right, moving on to U23. Going straight to the main here. And Tessa Williams, okay, from France. I don't care for this drone shot from the rear. They're going to show some highlights here. So Tessa Williams makes an excellent pass right here in the first corner. She goes from fourth to first. And we'll talk about that first corner again here in a moment. But, man, I thought she rode really well. Excellent pass there. And she's got, you know, 3 bike length lead going into the second corner. And now it's all about being mistake-free and bringing it home. We have the GB rider in second. GB, really, really strong program. Okay, we're going to talk about their program when we talk about the Team USA program here in a moment. They're really, really tough. The women, man, they're really fun to coach. They're super disciplined. And as you can see, Tessa holds on for the win there. Looks like the New Zealand girl is really, really happy. If you notice right here, Tessa, she's in, if I can rewind it, let's see if I can rewind it. Coming off this jump, and I'll try to pause it. So Tessa, you can't see my mouse, but Tessa there, she looks like she's about tied for second, third, somewhere around there, a fourth, if you will. There's certainly 3 girls to her right that are ahead of her just by default of being on the inside. So this girl from France, Tessa, she rode really, really well. She saw the line. She had vision, and I'm going to tell you right now, the French are well coached. They're analyzing every single bit of possibility, watching all the races, I'm sure of the challenge races, and really watching what's happening going on in that first turn, because one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of guys are making, and girls, is that they cover the inside, but they take pedals to try, and I get it, because I have my riders pedaling as much as they can going into a corner, in an effort to try to carry more speed and get away from the people behind him. But in this case, the turn's going away, and this actually hurt the Colombian rider here. She takes a couple pedals right there. Tessa doesn't pedal. She's actually going slower, so that allows her to take a tighter radius corner, and she has vision. From here, it's game over, right? And I thought Tessa did a really good job making some really nice contact with her hip, not connecting with the bars. And the girl from Colombia, she got her elbow out and just made sure that, you know, she wasn't getting a bar into her elbow as well. And they made a really nice contact and didn't crash. And I love that. I love that style of racing. It's even better when you don't crash the opponent, because sometimes when that person crashes, your back wheel is not protected. Your back wheel can get hung up and you can go down. So I thought that was a really, really, look at that. No tangling with the elbows. Pro. These girls are 16, 17, 18, riding like pros. Forgive me, U23. All right, now we're going to go into U23 male. Philip Steiner, man, he was just absolutely commando, right? This dude was beautiful on the bike, and he didn't drop a lap, and super smooth in qualifying, and man, what can you say? Again, someone that's well coached as well. And man, he looks prime and ready for elite. So this is a semi. We're going to go to another semi right here. The favorite, Rico. Rico's been winning World Cups at the U23 level. And if you could see here in lane 2, he just gets caught up. He doesn't get the gate that he wants here in lane 2. Comes out a little flat. Makes the main, but you know, right now he's in 3rd place, and if you want that lane 1 money ball position, you got to win, right? You got to win. So Rico actually, by default, he actually had like 6th best lane choice because his semi was actually slower. So Rico takes lane 6. He actually gets out. If you could see, look at that. And you look at lane 6, Rico is actually ahead. Okay, first full pedal crank, dead ahead. And then if you notice to his left, the guy in lane 7, the Australian, of course his head's cut off because, you know, he starts to come over on Rico. He actually has a better 2nd, 3rd pedal over Rico. And both these guys are actually ahead of Philip in lane 1, but Philip has full clearance over the guy in lane 2. So he has nothing to worry about there. There's nothing to worry about. It's not like the guy in lane 3 is going to come over 5 feet over from the right and shut down Philip. Philip has got a straight line for the whole shot. Rico's got a battle. Yeah, see if you look there, just play it. Oh, this reverse drone shot, this is just really bad. Not ideal. Philip comes in first. Rico's in 5th, 4th, 5th. 6. He's in 6 right now. So we got to watch for Rico in 6. Oh, almost getting past for 6. And Philip is just gone. He's fit. And, you know, if you guys have any questions about fitness as it pertains to the Worlds, because, you know, it's different. Rico comes back for an impressive 3rd. Real impressive there. Rico is another guy. Philip is another guy for the future. This Asmus kid from Australia, really, really tough. I thought he looked really tough all day in qualifying, just couldn't put it together for the podium. Man, the future is bright for international racing from down under, both New Zealand and Australia. So, and of course, you know, we'll talk about France in a moment. Not yet, but in a moment, because those guys are on another level. All right, let's get to elite women. So there's a results right there. Steiner, Colsonet from France, Rico Biermann, Asmus just barely, almost gets the 4th place medal there. So, all right, let's get to the women. The women in elite, Bethany Shriever. I mean, what else is there to be said? This is a semi, by the way, okay? So we have Bethany, Mariana Pahon, and Elise. Between Mariana Pahon and Elise, I mean, you're talking 15 medals, right? Like between World Championship, Junior World Championship, Olympic medals, and of course USA BMX titles with Elise. She's got too many to count on 2 hands. But Bethany, look at that. Has a half a wheel on Elise. That's that's pretty darn impressive. Okay, Bethany being really, really young. I believe she's only what, 21, 22. Forgive me. I need to look that one up. Bethany is actually 24, so forgive me. I got another laptop here. Another semi here. Sakaki Bara, Zoe Classens. This was a really, really tough semi. Felicia Stansel, the former world champion, defending world champion, fighting it out in 6. She's just having a hard time getting out of the gate and down that first straight. And in this sport, at this level, it's all about getting out of the gate. Listen, I want to talk about getting out of the gate. It's funny, I was watching these races. Okay, Lauren Reynolds at 32. I was watching these races with my significant other, Mariana Pajone. Okay, she is 31. All right, impressive. We got 2 girls in their 30s already. Zoe Classens got second last year, 22. 9 and 10 years younger than the girls to her left. Quite impressive. I think this is Manon, Manon Veenstra. 25, showing that chiropractics helmet. And then this lady here, Elise at 32. Okay, and it's funny. Someone asked me, they were like, "Wow, Elise is still racing," and I'm like, "Heck yeah, she's still racing." You want to know why? She's got a gate start. She can get to the first jump, and amongst the world in top 2. Who's going to push her out? Laura Smulders at 29. These girls in their late 20s and early 30s, they're not going anywhere until they no longer find themselves in the top 3, the top 4 to the first jump. They're going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And that's pretty much women's racing, right? And really, that's BMX. That's BMX at the elite level. Sakaki Bara at 23, I mean, she's got 10 years. Right? She's got 10 years. She's got three more Olympic Games, right? She's got the 2024, 28, and then, of course, 32, which is, that's about 9 years away. So she's got at least 3 Olympic Games. Sakaki Bara is the future. She's going to be the one to look out after. And more importantly, she's going to be a big threat even next year in France at the 2024 Olympic Summer Games. And then, of course, this girl right here, absolute freak, right? What's there to not like about Bethany, right? She comes at it. She comes real. She's saying the F-bombs. She's bringing some grit. She's showing a little bit of, she's showing both her feminine side and her masculinity at the same time, which I really love. She's got the eyelashes going, right? But she's bringing it with some masculinity too. Like, hey, I'm gonna F you guys up, man. Like, I'm bringing it. Olympic champion, UCI world champion, what can you say? All right? What can you say? She's showing it, hometown. Let's watch the gate. I mean, Bethany, look at that. Again, Elise in the mix, right? If she's top 2 to the first turn, top 2 to the first jump, she isn't retiring. There's no reason for her to retire. She can keep going 33, 34. Elise is going to hit 4 Olympic Games, right? No problem. She isn't going anywhere in the next 12 months. The Olympics is going to be next August. That's 12 months out. So, not much action here other than Elise maybe got a little tired out. And Laura Smulders, just excellent track speed for Laura, as usual. Laura, super decorated, right? Super decorated. Bethany Schriever, man, my hat's off to you, girl. Man, you're freaking awesome. Straight up, you're freaking awesome. All right, audio's looking good, video's still working good. A couple girls get hung up there, Zoe Classens and Manon. That's a bummer. Laura Smulders, she's fourth place, fifth place down that first straight, but she's going to find a way. If you guys want to learn anything, watch Laura Smulders. That girl has the most savviness out of all these girls as it pertains to racing in the pack and coming from behind. And she has, I think I was talking to someone earlier today, she has Elise's number in terms of making that pass down the last straight. And so maybe that was just an unconscious thing that Elise just like, oh man, Laura's behind me, this is going to be hard. And look at that, Laura Smulders She kind of did a high-low. She came in on her wide, carried a lot of speed, and just handled her business. And Bethany's gone. One comment to Bethany here is that she's here to stay. With this World Championship win and how dominant she is, I wouldn't be surprised she wins the next 2 Olympic Games, and she's going to be the first BMXer to win 3 Olympic gold medals. She's here to stay. She's the real deal. She's backing it up. That hot year in 2021 with the Summer Olympics and the World Championships that she won. With this win here, she's legit. She's the real deal. She really backed it up. She's great. She's awesome. Forgive me that my picture's over her face, but all right, let's move on to the men, eh? Romain Mayhew. What can you say about this beast? This guy was going really, really fast. Top lap times, no problems qualifying. And of course, this guy here, Joris Daudet. I mean, my mind is blown away, right? Again, 32 years old, and the kid's racing like he's 22, 24. Just super impressive. And you know why is Joris still relevant? Well, it's going to be the same reason as to why Elise is still relevant. It's in my opinion that Joris probably has the most efficient, the most perfect technique of coming out of the gate. His first 2 pedal strokes all the way accelerating to the first jump, absolutely flawless. It kind of reminds me of an old school pro back in the day, Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete Lunkarevich had really, really good technique, acceleration. Doesn't look like he's trying hard. The guys that don't look like they're trying hard with their bodies all over the place, those guys in terms of technique are putting down more power than the guys that are actually stronger than them. And the reason being is that they're just efficient, and efficiency matters. And of course, consistent efficiency matters. So as long as Joris is super efficient with his first 2 pedal strokes, he can maintain his strength, he can maintain his technique, he can maintain his power out of the gate and down the first straight. Joris isn't going anywhere, man. He ain't going nowhere. That dude is dialed in physically, technically, efficiently, and of course emotionally, mentally, right? Like he doesn't show anything. I mean, I've never seen Joris really like mad, and you'll never really see him smile either. Like he just holds his cards. The kid will probably be really good at poker when he retires, but for now, I don't know if Joris is going anywhere. All right, he ain't going anywhere. Semi time. All right, so we're gonna go to the first semi here, and we'll take our time. Jason P says, "Hey coach." Kayla says, "Elise looks killer out there." James says he loves going to the Philippines. James Cordova says, "I noticed a difference between the Euro riders and U.S. riders. Why is there such a discrepancy?" James, are you talking about elites, or are you talking about amateurs? Nicholas Torres right here from Argentina. Look at again, the Argentinian guys, man, they're really tough. The defending world champion Simon Marcotte, or is it Simone? Forgive me. Tough company there. Jeremy Rencorel. Leo Garian. This kid, look out for this kid. He's here to stay. He's legit, right? Already won a junior and U23 UCI World Championships. That kid is built for international racing. And then, of course, Romain Mayhew. This is a semi, guys. I mean, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. One note, want to give props to Sylvain Andre. That kid has like 6 UCI medals, I believe, a world championship, and he missed out in the quarter. I didn't get that on here, but Sylvain, another guy that's built for international racing. And of course, Arthur Pollard, the French fans that he had in the stands, they were ridiculously awesome for him, and the camera just loved that crowd. Simon Ricard kind of gets caught up between the French brigade there, and who is the GB kid? I think that's Patty Sherrick. All right, and then you got a Colombian kid in 4th, goes to 3rd. So we got 2 French guys up front. Mayhew, I believe it's going to be Forgive me, it's going to be, there's so many French kids, man, I'm losing it here. Leo Garon, Garoyan, and Ren Carell. All right, that rounds out the semi. Mayhew, man, just on point, man. He was just flawless. Really low over that first jump, getting on the gas faster than everyone else. Nice bunny hop over that roller, taking the ideal line going into that first turn. Super efficient, didn't look sketchy, didn't look like he was all over the place. Really in control of his power and his speed and his body language over the jumps. And that's what it takes to win a world title, man. Like, you got to show that consistency every lap. And in an effort to do that, you got to be physically in shape. You have to have skills. You have to have technique. You got to be dialed, right? You have to have visualization. You got to have behavior flexibility. You have to have focus. You got to be able to fight through any potential anxiety, uncertainty, or fear. That's international racing. This is Olympic racing right here, boys. All right, so there's your main. Romain Mayet, a French guy, missed out, but man, three guys, right? Three guys qualifying, and Romain with a 32.2. Let's go to the second semi. Tough semi here. We got Nick Keeman, lane 8, Alfredo Campo, and then you have the little magician, Carlos Ramirez, Kai White. Ooh, Kai White. I love talking about Kai White. He's awesome. Ross Cullen, I thought, really solid. He rode with some of the strongest guys all day and held his own out of the gate and around the track and made no mistakes. And what do you know? He's finding himself in the semi. Nick Keeman, he tried lane 1 in the quarter and didn't really work out with him, so he went back to lane 8. Alfredo Campo, tough contender. The little magician. I mean, if you guys are, this is probably the best come from behind rider ever. Kai White is like the new Mike Day on sauce. I mean, this kid here, I don't think anyone can ride a bike better than Kai White. Straight up, man. That guy is fly on a bike. He had some of the best laps I saw from the first turn all the way to the finish line. Ross Cullen looking tough, bringing that emotional, mental focus and savvy. Arthur Pollard with his fan base. Let's see another shot of the Arthur Pollard crew in the stands. Ospina, getting his spirituality on, man. Those guys, the Colombians, bring it. And then Joris, again, you don't know what's on his mind other than the fact that he's focused, right? Like, we all know, he isn't going to look at the camera. He's not going to give you anything to go off of other than, hey, I'm coming focus. Lane 1 gets out. Joris is gone. Don't know what happened to Alfredo Campos. Supposedly he got hurt. I don't know where he got hurt, but he didn't even try. Kai White finding himself in 4th. Then all of a sudden, like that, the Colombian just gets right underneath him. Kai White goes off the track here. Nick Keeman didn't get the first straight that he wanted, and he's in the back of the pack. So we got Joris Daudet and Arthur Pollard. And Ross Cullen finding himself in 3rd spot position, looking solid to make that main event. And then, what do you know? 2 Colombians look. Oh, and then, wow, did you guys see that? Joris gets a little sideways jump manualing over this roller step right here. A little sideways right there. I think that might have cost him, and he gets caught up here, and his lap time is just not as fast. Oh, they go photo, so it didn't even show us a lap time. Carlos Ramirez rounds out the top 4. Nick Keeman just couldn't get over. He just couldn't get over. But Joris Daudet looking smooth, looking solid. He's probably the most efficient guy. Kai White. Oh, let's watch that again. So Kai right here he's in 4th, right? And the guy behind him who's tied probably for 6 actually gets under him. And that actually works out for Carlos Ramirez, who's pretty much in dead last at this point. Carlos is in 7th. But if Kai can actually carve this turn a little bit more and try to get under his mate, Ross Cullen, who's in front of him, not drift up so much, he can probably come out of this turn conceivably holding a 4th spot position with authority. But he drifts up. And these Colombians, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you guys right now. when it comes to smaller guys, lighter guys, they're lighter and therefore they can actually take tighter radius corners. That was something that I took note of when I raced a lot, and I take note when I'm watching guys. They're lighter, right? So they don't demand as much traction, if you will, as opposed to a guy that's 180 pounds or heavier. These guys that are coming in around 150 pounds, give or take, they don't need a whole lot of they can carve the crap out of a corner and not slide out because they're not heavy. Does that make sense? And at the same time, they're not carrying a whole lot of weight. So there's a little bit of power to weight ratio because it is almost like a gate start when you're coming out low out of a corner and trying to re-accelerate. Ospina comes out ahead of Kai White and he just gets in front of him, and then Ospina gets passed by the little magician. So it's almost like team riding, if you will. It's like one of those guys is going to make the main. They got to figure that out. Joris Dode with a little bobble with the jump manual there over that step. And he does not get first lane choice, and I think that's going to hurt his chances for a gold medal. Because I think at this point, Joris already winning 2 world championships and highly decorated, and as I think I counted, I think he's won 7 UCI world championships. I'm sorry, 7 UCI world championship medals, which is pretty much impressive. He's fighting for gold. He ain't worried about getting another second or another third or another medal. I'm sure, at the end when it's all said and done, he gets on the podium, he's going to be happy. He's going to be happy he didn't hit the deck and he got a medal and he made the main. But he knows, and I think he even expressed it on his social media, that he's been in one of the best shapes of, best peak fitness, race fitness of his life. So that's a lot to be said at 32 years old, and I believe him, man, because he looks sharp. But drawing lane 2, because these two guys, Romain and Joris, really, really tough customers. All right, let's jump ahead here. So Leo Garyon, again, he's the future at 23. He's 9 years behind Joris Dode, already making mains. Carlos Ramirez, he's got a couple of bronze medals. We know this. Plenty of World Championship appearances as well. Torres won a World Cup several years ago. Someone told me that he actually took a break. Age 25, there's plenty of life in his legs to race in the future. Ren Carell, 28 years old. He's solid. I thought he was due for a podium here, but again, a lot of French teammates to contend with. The French are deep, by the way, right now, right? Like if you guys watch, Ross Cullen shows up. If you ever watch like the European Championships, the French got 4 out of 8 spots in the main there as well. Nick Kieman happened to be faster that day, but you had 2 French guys that made the podium. Pollard, really, really tough as nails as well. Been going fast for a long time. These French kids, super strong power to weight ratio, excellent technique and form out of the gate all the way down to the first jump. And at the end of the day, and then of course you got Joris, right? 32 years old. He's the oldest guy in here. The French are well trained. There's a lot of modeling going on, and we'll talk about that here in a moment when it comes to the French. Something that the U.S. is lacking right now. Romain Mayhew has been tough for a while. He's won a World Cup, several World Championship appearances. Romain just needs to do what he's been doing all day, right? Why, it's just another lap. Boom, gets out. And if we're going to go to the replay here, but he had enough to get by Joris here. Joris had to go high, and Pollard slips underneath, and you got a 1-2-3 French invasion here. 1-2-3-4. And you got Carlos Ramirez way back there in, I don't know, what, 6th place, 7th place? Somehow he finds himself right behind Joris going down this last straight. The magician is crazy. Joris is shaking his head, and he knows it because that was an opportunity which you don't get many to capitalize on a world championship here. Joris got out. All right. If you look at this, in my opinion, Joris is ahead. Ross Cullen looks tough right there, but Arthur Pillard's right there. But Joris is ahead. His wheel's a little bit cocked, but he's ahead. Trust me. I think I get another shot of the first jump here. Down right here. Look at that. Boom. Look at Joris's wheel. Half a wheel. Come on, man. Half a wheel on Mayhew. Right? Joris is 32 years old. He ain't going fucking nowhere. He ain't going fucking nowhere, man. That is badass. That gets me excited. Please forgive my swearing, but man, I am just blown away. Right? If he had lane one, he can get into them. He can easily take control of what's going. Because here's the thing: when you're in lane two, it's like you got to pick your poison. Am I going to try to control the left side or the right side? And I think in this case, he probably should have just started drifting over to the right. But Joris is not really like that. He's been in lane one. It's almost kind of like this autogenic conditioning. Both Mayhew and Joris have only been in lane one the entire week. So being in lane two is something a little bit different for Joris, right? Despite the fact that he's been in many other lanes all his life. But I'm telling you right now, I'd be willing to bet he had to have some flexibility, like, oh, I got lane two, and you know, just a little bit emotionally, mentally, that's going to kind of have to go plan B in his head, and that kind of tweaks things, despite the fact that he's a half a wheel to the bottom of the hill. But he's got to pick his poison. Do I move over on Pillard? Because Pillard's going fast. Do I move over to the right on Mayhew? Mayhew's going fast. Mayhew has enough room. And here's the thing. It's going to matter who's going to take this first jump faster and lower and who's going to get on the gas right away. And maybe that's where Mayhew gets it, right? Right? Pillard's actually probably about a half a foot, if not a foot higher than Joris. So at that point, yeah, Pillard's kind of like, you know, he ain't hole shotting, but between number 133, they're low. And Mayhew's probably lower. And look at that, just like that, Mayhew, they're just now landing, and Mayhew is tied with Joris. So jumping low and jumping fast and staying low, that's another technique thing. And I think if Joris could have, even if Joris had lane one, he'd still be good, because he's neck and neck, and by default he's on the inside. And I really truly believe he would have hole shotted this no problem and take it home all the way for a third world championship here. But Mayhew, you know, you got to give him props, man. The dude rode solid. He did what he had to do. He got a good start out of the money ball gate, stayed low, put pressure on Joris, and took it home. Yeah, look at that. He's ahead by Joris upon landing. At that point, Joris has to move over. He has to concede. Joris is moving over, and then you got Pillard there on the inside. He's in third, if not tied. Yeah, tied for fourth. Tied for third. Pillard sneaks underneath, right underneath Joris. Gets on Mayhew's back wheel, and it's off to the races. It's going to get strung out. 1, 2, 3. Number 1, 100, 130, and 33 are off to the races. All right, so that's pretty much my take on the World Championships. I wanted to give you guys a little bit more of a mechanical breakdown, a little bit more insight on some of these riders, since, you know, I've been coaching a long time, since at the high level, and I've witnessed these guys come up, and they're still around, and it's awesome. We could talk about some Team USA stuff. I know there's a lot of chatter about, hey, what's going on with Team USA? And the truth of the matter is, you know, there's a number of things, right? And I would say depth is one. Okay, the French, they got depth. You know, not only do they have a guy that can win, but it seems like they got about 5 guys that can win, if not 6 guys that can make that main and win, right? And they all have parcours, if you will, which is pretty much, they have a resume, and so let's switch this up. Let's go to some questions. Team USA, you know, there's a couple guys that were out. Corbin was hurt. I know Shibby was hurt. And I know Cam Wood, who's won some World Cups, he was hurt. And let's see here. Let's get some logos up, eh? Let's get some logos up. James Cordova. It's way beyond impressive. Did Corbin go to the Worlds? No, he did not. Jason P says hello. Let's go to some questions here. All right, here we go. Another question is, what would you be doing for your fitness to be ready for both Worlds and qualifiers? Okay, that's a great question, because here's the thing. When it comes to Worlds, what you have to understand is that it's not like your typical day of racing at a national where you qualify, or even if you didn't qualify, you go to the second round qualifier, excuse me, and then maybe you might have a quarter, you might have a semi, but let's say you don't have a quarter, and you win the first moto, win the semi, and go into the main. That's 3 laps. All right, maybe you do that for 2 bikes, that's 6 laps, and that's going to be over a span of, I don't know, 8 hours. The thing with Worlds at an amateur level, if I recall when I did it, most of the time it's a tight window of about, I just know this, it's like 2.5 hours, 8 laps, right? You got to do all 3 laps, okay? And we're talking about amateurs, right? Pros, they get to break it up. These guys, they only had to do a quarter, a semi, and a main. So they're actually lucky, right? For the rest of us that are amateurs going to the Worlds, you guys have to have what I call, you have to have maximum power endurance, okay? Not only do you have to be able to pedal and compete hard from the gate all the way to the finish line, you have to be able to recover fast. And the last time I raced it, which wasn't that long ago, and I made the main event, so I went all the way through. I trained myself physically, emotionally, mentally for it. I trained myself to make sure I was ready for 20-minute intervals. Like, we're going to race every 20 minutes, especially when you get down towards the end when it's just quarter, semis, and finals. Every round, you get less time to recover, and they're burning that thing like clockwork. So, let me get my water. You have to be able to go 8 laps in 2.5 hours and be able to recover within 20 minutes. So I had some riders that went to the Worlds. I gave them my protocol. You know, we're working on a lot of track speed, a lot of protocols to help with recovery, removing metabolic waste. That's the key, right? And of course, you know, we can go into a whole nutritional thing, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. But that's the thing. You got to be able to do 8 laps and do it in 2.5 hours, and that you have to be able to do it tough over a long track. That's technical, and you have to do it amongst other riders that are super fast, because almost everyone all over the world's fast. So, and you don't know who you're riding against, so you're going all out. We're talking like 8 laps at a main event, intensity, right? 8 laps at a main event intensity. The Worlds is super hard, super hard. You don't know the nuances of some of these other foreign riders who are used to riding super technical tracks and tight turns, and they're used to dive bombing on each other. I remember my first Worlds, or my second Worlds as a pro, I went to Australia, and there was guys that had never raced before. And, you know, I wanted to do the amateur thing and take a really nice wide line and come out with speed. And all of a sudden, I had 3 Euros underneath me, just in my wheelhouse, putting me over the turn, and I'm out in the quarter. So European racing is really tough because it's a lot of stop and go. What other questions do we have? I know we were going to talk about the USA here, but maybe it's just not, maybe this just isn't the crowd. But I will talk about the USA, and I will say this. You know, listen, I think there's a couple things here. Number one, you got to ask the right question, right? The French, what are they doing? It's not about what USA is doing. It's not about tracks. It's not about funding. Well, it possibly is funding. All these little things might matter, but the real big picture is, who do we have to model? Like, me as a coach, I'm like, who do we have to model? Because back in the day, you know, in the first Olympic Games, we had guys like Kyle Bennett, Mike Day, Donnie Robinson, all well decorated, world championship medals across the board, NBL and ABA titles across the board, Mike Day, Donnie Robinson, Olympic medals. So at that point, you had kids that were juniors like Corbin Sherraw and Connor Fields, and kids that were even younger than that. And this is all before, the cheap dopamine social media era, where, these kids have someone to model. They have someone to aspire to. Hey, I want the Olympic medal. I want that dream. And nothing else is going to distract me, and I'm going to go for it. And certainly guys like Connor and Corbin went after that, and they won world championship titles and Olympic bids, and Connor won a gold medal respectively. And there was a lot of hungry other Americans that were right there that if they slipped up, they can easily step in. But those two guys, when they come to mind, they're kind of like Joris Daudet and Sylvain Andre, right? Now Roman Mayhew is dictating and saying, hey, you know what? I'm a threat as well, especially come Olympic year. I want an Olympic medal as well. So you have a guy like Joris they can model, okay? Next, you have the style of racing in France, which we here in America, we really don't understand. Like, truly the map is a territory here in America. We don't really understand racing outside the States. We're so involved in here. And here's the other truth. No one really cares about international racing here in America except for one week every year, and then maybe one weekend or 2 days out of every 4 years when the Olympic Games comes up. Okay, I said that, someone said that to Tyler Brown today, and he laughed. It's so true. And the fact of the matter is, we don't really care about international racing as much. We care more about points. We care more about getting those 8 scores. We care more about the race of champions and qualifying for that. And of course, getting into the grands and getting double points and making that main. That's what we care about. That's our world for the most part. Now, when it comes to pros, it's really tough. I feel really bad for American pros. Number one, they don't race as much as they used to. I mean, if you look at my history, I was able to race a lot. I raced the ABA, I raced the MDL, and we raced a ton. Okay, we raced a ton. And 30 weekends out of the year, right? These guys are lucky if they get 8 races, 8 weekends. And that's just not enough racing. And we had Pro Open and Pro and also Cruiser, so with quarters. So we were conceivably getting anywhere from 20 to 24 laps a weekend, just racing a 20-inch in 2 classes on a Saturday and Sunday. We were getting the repetitions, and we were racing 3 main events. Okay, we were racing 3 main events in Elite, and so we were getting the repetition. So when it came to international racing, we had no problems. We were trained up. Okay, so I can go all over the board here. Next, what I want to talk about is in France, they have the club system. So if you sign up and join BMX Racing, you're in a club, you're assigned a coach, and that's it. You're assigned a coach. You're going to get coaching, whereas kids here in America that get involved in the BMX, there is no assigned coach. Every one of us has to figure it out on our own, unless we hire somebody, unless you join a membership like I have. And it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but those kids right off the hop are getting coaching, they're competing, they're staying in it, and they're super competitive because of that, because they have coaching. The more competitive you are, the longer you're going to stay around. Here in America, we have one of the biggest populations when it comes to racing, so we have a big funnel, but at the end of the day, not a whole lot of riders stay around. USA BMX, as an average member sticking around, I think the churn's like every 24 months, guys are leaving. The average membership is around 24 months. It's 2 years. It's not a whole lot of time. People come in and they can't figure it out on their own and they're out. And then, then we have a small pool to pull from. A very small pool. I mean, because if you look at these European contingents, if you look at France, they got guys up and down in junior, up and down in U23, up and down elite, both female and male. They are stacked everywhere. They got a pipeline. They got a business model. Our business model is about getting points for NAG 1. And that's no fault of the ABA, because I see people like, oh, the ABA is money, or the USA BMX is money hungry. Heck yeah. This is a capitalist nation. I'm all for profit as well. I'm a businessman as well. So yeah, go make that bread. But at the same time, I don't think it's not their problem. Now we have federations, we have USAC, but USAC needs to invest in a pipeline. They got to be able to convince guys that are 15, 16 to get involved in their development program and pull them away from races and send them off to international races. But these kids are with trade teams, they're with bike shop teams, factory teams, and they're more needed over there. They're going to go where they're wanted. If there's no incentive to go into this program that doesn't exist and go and get sent all over the world, which doesn't exist, then we have no one to pull from as it pertains to talent, right? We're only able to capture talent on those that have a vision of wanting success of an Olympic medal. That's it. That want to compete at an international level, at world championships, that want to compete at a World Cup level, that want to be able to qualify for the Olympic Games and go after that dream, because their window of opportunity is really small and they see it. It takes that kind of special rider to have that vision. And we don't have that. We don't have many riders to model in terms of, hey, what, like, unconsciously model, like, hey, Connor Fields and Corbin had it easy. Hey, what did Mike and Donnie do to qualify? What do they do to get Olympic medals? What do they do to get world championship medals? They had someone to easily model, despite the fact that they were still kind of on their own program as well and riding for other trade teams. USA Cycling, since day one, back in the inclusion of the 2008 Olympics, back in 2005, talking to the CEO of USA Cycling, he's like, look, we're looking at BMX no different than road cycling at the trade team level. Meaning that we can't really compete with trade teams. The trade teams, back then it was like US Postal, Trek. I mean, today it's Jumbo Visma, Quick Step, EF Education, there's a bunch more. Those guys are developing their riders, right? They're putting money into the science and development of their riders. And when those guys are ready for world championships and they're ready for the Olympic Games, then guys like Matthew Vanderpool, Wout van Aert, Tadej Pogacar, their federations can just say, hey, we're happy to give you whatever you need at the Olympic Village or at the World Championships. Here's your credentials. Those federations, all they have to do is just take care of the guys at the races. In BMX, it's different, right? Like in BMX, we got to be hands-on. It's really, really cutthroat out there. I can keep going. Let's see, what's this guy say? CJ. Also, most international tracks are open 24/7. My home track is only open 2 days a week. Man, great point, right? Like, you're 100%, right? Like, I have a lot of Great Britain riders, and a lot of them between the ages of like 12 and 15, and I get them ready for their talent identification years of 15, 16 years old. I have a plethora of kids between the ages of 12 and 15 that come to me for programming and coaching and physical, emotional, mental help. And that's one thing that I did notice. They do have access to the track, and we're taking advantage of that for sure. So great point. Great point. So that's pretty much my take on USA for the most part, right? Like, that's the model, right? Like, we have the USA model, which is never going to change, and until we get someone that steps up, maybe it's a Cam Wood who starts winning and everyone gets inspired by him. For now, it's Barry Nobles, and this is no knock on Barry. Barry is awesome. He got Pro of the Year. World Championship, Masters. He's got all the sponsors, doing really well, making a lot of money, I'm sure, having a great time doing it, right? And it's funny because when I interview kids that they want me to coach them, I do an intake. I'm like, hey, what are your goals? And they're like, I want to be a Masters #1. I want to be like Barry Nobles. And I'm like, okay, that's different. Like, I'm used to hearing like, I want to be like Connor Fields. I want to win a gold medal. And I'm getting a lot of those from all other countries other than the kids in the U.S. The U.S., their best person that they can model is Barry Nobles because he's living the lifestyle. right? He's living the lifestyle. He's having a lot of fun. He's making money. He's winning races. He's smiling. He's killing it. And the elite lifestyle is actually very much boring. They're not posting on social media. They're doing their squats. When they go to the races, they do the lap, and then they're in the pits and they're recovering, and they're getting ready for the next lap. It's because at the elite level, it's cutthroat. It's like getting into an octagon. It's super hard. You need a lot of focus. There's not a whole lot of time for extracurricular things that one can do if you're not racing the elite class. So, that's the thing. It's a cultural thing. America is just way different, culturally speaking, compared to countries like France, Netherlands, GB, who in my opinion are the top three programs that are driven today in BMX internationally speaking. Those guys are absolutely killing it. So unless we, miraculously get a kid who breaks through and is able to develop themselves physically, emotionally, mentally, able to create a vision of success internationally and at the Olympic level, we're not going to be a force for the next several years. We just don't have the pipeline. We're going to have to depend on kids like Cedric Cade, that hopefully he gets the right coaching and guidance and influence to go for it, right? I think we had a kid, Riley House, he got hurt. Connor Fields got hurt. And those guys, they're gone, they're retired. And then of course it doesn't help when guys like Cam Wood and Cormac Sherrod get hurt, because our depth is gone, right? Our depth is gone. All right, that's enough. That's my take on that. I'm going to answer a few questions and then it's dinner time for me. Kayla Mitchell, what should I do to prepare for Worlds next year? I'm going to race 10-year-old boys. Did you actually type that, or is that your parent? What should you do? Yeah, like I said prior, I think you have to understand what's at stake at Worlds, and that's being able to race full laps, eight full laps for the most part. You can count on that at the very maximum. You're going to have to assume at that age, you're probably going to have over 100 kids, right? Over 100 kids, 8 laps. And those are main event intensity laps. So you have to be able to get in shape to do 8 laps. Next, you got to work on your gait, right? I mean, that's BMX. Got to be able to snap a main event intensity, technical, efficient, powerful, strong, whatever have you, gait all the way to the bottom of the starting hill to the first jump into the first corner. You got to be competitive. Got to find that competitive edge, and yeah, man, I mean, that's it. You have to be able to get that first straight, because at that level, at the international level, it's hard to come from behind. It just is. If you're not at the front of the race, in my opinion, the front of the race is positions 1, 2, 3. If you're 4th, 5, 6, that's the middle of the race. You're not really in it, and it's a lot of ground to make up. You're talking seconds. So you want to get ahead and grab the whole shot. That needs to be the focus here. All right, what other questions do we have? That's it. You guys are, how can I work on overcoming the fear of jumping? Yeah, you have to, there's 2 ways to do that. Number 1, I can help you, and we could do a cheat code, and I can run some hypnosis on your kid and be done literally in 30 minutes and overcome that fear, because fear is just a program, right? Like if you're being held back approaching a jump, unconsciously you might hit the brakes or might not even try. Because the unconscious mind is more powerful than the conscious mind. The unconscious mind is a program. Just like on your phone, there's a bunch of programs, right? And those programs are going to operate perfectly every time, even if they're flawed. Even if there's a virus and you launch the app and it crashes, it's going to do that every time until you update it. So you need to update that jumping program. And the way that you could do that is just to rewrite and get rid of fear, get rid of the virus, and get back to what you want to be doing instead of holding back, because that's typically what's happening with fear. Fear is a good thing because it's actually protecting you. The hard part is if your conscious mind is fighting with your unconscious mind and you're like, screw it, I'm going for it, but the unconscious mind, no, you're not. Then you have an incongruency and you're jumping the jump half-ass, and that's how we get hurt. So you have to break up that program, rewrite the program, and get congruent between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Straight up, that's how you're going to do it. You could do it, that's the easy way, done in 30 minutes, or you could do it the hard way, which is just starting over from scratch. Building up your confidence over little jumps, and then upgrading yourself to bigger jumps, and just trying to fight through whatever that program is and try to rewrite it. That takes longer, not necessarily impossible, but unfortunately that program, just like on apps, they're still there until there's an update that happens in the background. Super tough to do. I deal with kids that like, man, it's crazy like what some of these kids do. Like they'll have a wreck out of the gate, and next thing you know, when they come out of the gate unconsciously, they're hitting their brakes or they're backing off. They're not going 100%, and their parents are pulling their hair out of the head, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. My kid keeps backing off, and he doesn't do this while, you know, he's at practice, but when he goes to the nationals and he's around other kids and they're really close, he always backs off. And yeah, it's a program, and it's something that you need to rewrite. It's no fault of their own. You could tell them what they need to do all day long. They can know what they could do all day long. Again, the unconscious mind rules all. It's all about the programming. We are literally just walking hard drives. We are literally just, you know, I can go on and on, but you know, we are truly walking hard drives. I'm just going to leave it at that. Sometimes people might say we're in a matrix. We're in a system. James Cordova says thank you. Jack Baker says for real. U.S. needs more European tracks. Yeah, I don't know about that. We talked about that. I think U.S. needs more European style RAN tracks, like the club model, where when you sign up, you're assigned a coach, and everybody that's involved at the track is involved. Kind of like if you were involved and signed up for soccer on a team, or a hockey team, or a football team, or the baseball team. Less, you know, showing up and trying to figure it out and navigate it. That's what we need less of. That's where it starts. I don't think it's about, you know, the technicality and the nuances of rhythm sections and how deep they are or how easy they are. Sure, that it may look like that on the surface, but when you have coaching, you're going to be a better rider, right? I'm not saying that technical tracks isn't hurting or helping. I'm just saying that's probably not the right focus. Okay, I don't disagree with you. I'm just adding to that. Jack Baker, sorry, I am lane 1. I'm late. Okay, yeah, quit being late, Jack. CJ, okay, yeah, he said that. All right, well, hey, you listen, man, we're an hour into this thing. Thank you very much. I'll show up next week. Hopefully I could start on time. I had issues with my camera, and I had issues with a bunch of different stuff. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys next week. You guys be good. Talk to you soon.